So today's class, we are going to be learning how to make a simple paper rose. And included in your tote bag were two pieces of paper of different colors. But you can also, if you don't want to use just regular craft paper, you can use book pages like I'm doing today, or you can use, some pretty specialty paper that you can get in those paper stacks from any craft store. But what you're looking for is a paper that is not too thick. So you definitely don't want to use cardstock. You want a fairly thin paper, and book pages are actually perfect for that. They have the perfect thickness. Things that you could do depending on what you're using, especially if you're using a book page, is you can actually color them. So you could just color the outside of the petals, just around the edges. You could use watercolors and give the paper a wash. If you do that, you of course want to let it dry before you continue making your paper rose. So everything that you need is in your tote bag. I'm going to give you the template at the beginning of this video. You should have seen it already, so you can download that or just freehand. So you'll need paper, you'll need pencils, and scissors to cut out those templates. And that's pretty much it, except for you'll also need a glue. I use hot glue, and I recommend, if you can, using hot glue because it just takes so much less time to stick these roses together. If you're using a regular glue, some kind of tacky glue, you're going to have to hold it together for quite some time, so it's a little more tricky. But anyway, those are basically the things that you'll need, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So, as you can see in your template, there are actually 3 different sizes. You can make these as big as you want. Some people have made, these huge roses that they can add to walls as wall art. If you're having a wedding, you could use it for decorations. They can look amazing. We're just making a fairly small paper rose today. If you really like what you're doing, and if you love the look of your roses, of course you can make as many as you want and create a bouquet. One today. Okay, so we're going to use the smaller of the rose petal templates, and if you take a look at it, it kind of looks like a little guy. So what we're doing is we're going to take the arms of that little man, and we're just going to fold them in to create our first part of the rose, which is the inner part, the bud. So you're going to kind of gently fold one of those petals together just like this, and we're going to put a little bit of glue on the outside of the petals, and then we'll stick that other petal to it. Let's go ahead and do that. Just a little bit of hot glue. You don't need too much. And of course be careful because it's pretty intricate and you don't want to burn yourself. Okay, so you're just going to kind of stick it just like that. Hold it together. And then you're going to do the same to the other petals. You're just going to go ahead and kind of overlap them a little bit. So put a little bit of glue on the sides and stick to your little bud, just like this. Same thing, a little bit of glue on the outside, and just stick and hold. Doesn't take long. And then the last one, just fold that up. And for these roses, the ones that we're making today, I would not recommend anything thinner than this kind of paper. Tissue paper would probably be too thin. It would be very difficult to work with. So this works really well. Okay, so that, as you can see, is just the first part of your rose, that little inner bud. And honestly, this is the most difficult part of this entire process. Once you've got this little bud done and the second one, it's plain sailing. All right, so then you're going to take the second smaller template. You're just going to pop a little bit of glue on the bottom of your bud, and you're literally just going to stick it to the middle. Oops, if you can, to the middle, just like that. Okay, and then you're going to do pretty much exactly the same But in this case, instead of putting the glue on the sides of the flower, we're actually just going to put a little stripe of it at the bottom. And not all the way up, because we don't want it to be completely enclosed. We want to have a little bit of the petal to be able to curl back just like this. Okay, so that's one. And then just go around and do the same thing to all those other petals. And you kind of overlap them as you're going. And hold it there. Overlap it. Same thing. And you'll want to just kind of hold it together. See, it's kind of tricky. Hold it together. And then this one, just overlapping and holding that bud together, just like that. And then the final petal. All right. So that, again, that's now 2 of the templates we've used. We've got a really nice little middle part of our rose, that tight little bud in the middle. So now we're going to go and use the slightly larger, the medium-sized, I guess, template. And we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to pop a little bit of glue on the bottom of our bud. We're going to pop it in the middle. And you want to kind of make sure that at this point, the petals are going to kind of overlap nicely the little bud petals you've got there. Okay, so it's in the middle. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to put just even slightly less glue because we really want to make this rose start to look more open. Okay, we don't want it just to be a tight, half-closed rose. We want it to open up. So just at the bottom, like that. We can always go back and curl those out after we finish. Just again, just all the way around. We'll just hold it there. Same thing. And then the last one. And don't worry about all those little glue tendrils that you can see. Those come off really easy. You just kind of pull them off. The final one, just kind of hold it in place. You can kind of adjust it as you see. Okay, open it up a little bit. All right, so you can see it's already starting to look pretty good. And honestly, you can make this as intricate, as large as you like, simply by adding more of the templates. I think 6 is a good number, so that's all I'm going to work with today, but you could continue and add as many as you prefer. All right. Okay, I'm going to stick this in the middle of our template. We're going to make sure that the petal kind of overlaps in the middle of the other petals. Stick it to the middle. So if I can show you, you can kind of see how it's kind of overlapping. There, and then this one's going to go in the middle. Okay, same thing. A little bit of glue, and we're just going to stick it in. Okay, so we're just going to continue round, adding a little bit more glue to the middle of each of those petals and just gently sticking into the center. As you've probably figured out now, that first part was indeed the hardest part. This is easy, it goes really quickly. So you can actually make quite a few of these if you were so inclined. Okay, and then that last one. Okay. And you can kind of adjust it as you see. We're still going to be adding more petals, but you can keep adjusting. It's already really looking pretty good right now. So now we've got the last two of the larger templates, but the exact same process applies. You put a little bit of glue into the middle, and you'll see if you can try and figure out where to overlap those petals. I'm going to put it. Okay, and the same thing. A little bit of glue and stick it in. Okay, and now we're at our final piece. No difference in what we're doing. And we're just trying to find out where's the best place so that we can overlap the petals. And this last piece, you really want very little glue at all because it is almost not sticking. You could kind of leave it like that if you wanted to, but we just want to put a little bit just at the base of each petal. So that it will fold a little bit in, but it will also, the petals can spread out. And this one, that should be it. I'll just take some of those little glue strings. They just come off super easy. They're done. Okay. This one is a nice opened rose. I made a little one earlier that's slightly more bud-like, much tighter. It's kind of nice to have a selection of roses. So you've got the opened up one, and then you've got the one that is a little less. And that is pretty much it. Like I said, it would be really nice. You could even add some color now if you wanted to, just to the edges. I've seen some that, little blue edges, little pink edges, maybe some glitter. But it can look really, really lovely. And I'll show you how to create the stem in just a moment. Okay, so to make the stem for your rose, it's very simple. And I haven't included the template because honestly, you could make as many leaves as you wanted. I've just made 4, which isn't particularly realistic, but that's okay. I'm just giving you the basic outline how to do this. So you basically want to cut out a 4 or 5 leaf template, and then you're going to get a piece of wire that you can get from any craft store. And what you need to be able to stick this to the rose, because remember your rose has a completely flat bottom, it's also very thick. You wouldn't be able to just go through those pieces of paper. It's very, very thick, very hard to do. So the best way to do this is to put a hole in the center of your leaf, a little hole like this. And then you're going to need something flat that will stick to that and will stick to the rose. So you'll put your wire through something. I'm using a sequin, which works really well. But you could also use a flat button of some kind. This one isn't particularly flat, but it would be able to stick, no problem. Anyway, let's try that. the tip of this wire off because it's a little frayed. There we go. Okay, so you would get whatever the button or piece of, even a piece of flat card if you wanted, you could just cut a piece out, or as I'm using this flat disc sequin. You just pop it through, and then you can either hot glue it in place, because obviously it's just going to come up right out if you don't hot glue it, or some way stick it down. Or you can just, as I'm doing, you can fold it over and then under to keep it in place. And now you've got a flat surface that is going to stick to your rose. Before that, I'm going to put it through our little leaf template and just go ahead and all the way to the top. And then we'll take the rose, we're going to put some hot glue onto the bottom of that rose, and we are going to go ahead and stick this, and you can kind of look at it and decide where you want those leaves. Stick that to the rose. And there you have a basic stem. Now, of course, depending on what you're doing, if you've only got one rose, you're probably going to want to wrap this in some ribbon so that the stem looks really nice. But if you were doing a bouquet of roses, so, you know, however many you've got, you could wait until you have all the roses together and then go ahead and wrap the entire stem system with ribbon, and that would look really cool too. But that is the way to add a stem to your rose. Very simple. You will need, as I said, some kind of wire that you can get from any craft store, and just use your own imagination for the kind of leaves you want. And that's it.